Okay, everybody, good afternoon, and welcome to the first Return to the Vault program of our new bar year. Glad to have everybody with us for our Enterprise Justice Suggested Search Practices for Practitioners. My name is Matt Waters. I'm a partner at the Jordan Price Law Firm in Raleigh. I'm the immediate past chair of the Real Property section, and as always, your host and your co-chair of the Return to the Vault program, along with Kyle Smalling, also our co-host. Kyle, if you're with us, you can unmute and say hello.
Good afternoon, everybody. Glad to be here. Looking to learn.
We are thrilled to have Terry Bowling with us. Terry is a paralegal at the Manning, Fulton, and Skinner Law Firm here in Raleigh, and she has become what I consider to be at least an expert in the use of enterprise justice in the portal search, and we're glad to have her with us here to talk about her tips and strategies for using that program today. See a lot of new names, and so for those of you who are new to the Return to the Vault program, this is a program that we created in 2022 with the Real Property section. It was a way to sort of reconnect, re-engage, and re-energize as we emerged out of this post-COVID pandemic, and everybody's kind of gone virtual, and how do we reconnect with everybody? And this has been a great way for us to do this. These are monthly 1-hour programs on the second Wednesday of each month at noon. These programs are recorded. They're saved as section content for our members, so our members have access to all prior programs on our website, along with the materials and slides that are given during the program. These programs, however, are not offered for CLE credit. So over the past 6 programs or so, we've reached well over 1,000 attendees. This program today has, as of yesterday afternoon, had over 250 registrations. We're expecting a big crowd here today, and we're glad to have everybody here with us. A little bit about program materials and participation, since I anticipate that this will be such a critical program and one that's well attended, and there will be lots of questions. I do want to let everybody know that the program materials will include a copy of the recorded program, PowerPoint, the manuscript that's been created and prepared by Terry Bowling, and be on the lookout for the in case you missed it email. So there's the email address that all the marketing flyers for Return to the Vault come from that email address. The in case you missed it will come from that email address. You see it there on your screen. Make sure that that email address is whitelisted within your email account. Be on the lookout for that email address or an email from that email. The in case you missed it will include the recording and all the program materials. Participation today. Go ahead and open up your chat box. That'll be your Q&A portal for us today to use. Go ahead and let us know, just say hello if you want to, or let us know from what part of the state you're from and watching this from today, or let us know if you're here from another section other than the Real Property section. Let us know that too. We'd be glad to see how many friends and colleagues we have with us from across the state. And if you have any questions, of course, either now or after the program, you see my email there on your screen. Feel free to email me and I'll be glad to connect with you. Just a couple quick programming announcements upcoming. We have Wednesday, September 11th at noon, our next Return to the Vault program. The National Association of Realtors, or the NAR, Antitrust Litigation and Settlements, which have been big news lately. In fact, those new rules for realtors go into effect August the 17th, and it's going to be a monumental change for the way that realtors transact their business. So for any of you who may be realtors yourselves, or maybe you represent realtors, this would be an important program for you to attend. It's going to be presented by Bob Ramser with Ragsdale Liggett and Charlie Moody, legal counsel for the NC Real Estate Commission. September 20th, the Real Property Advanced Topics CLE. Make sure you register for that. And the next year, we've got the Hot Topics, of course, in February, as always. And then in May, we hope to see everybody who's a Real Property section member come see us in Kiowa. And if you're not already a Real Property section member, now's a great time to join so that you can visit with us in Kiowa, South Carolina. That's always a great time. I want to thank today's sponsor, Old Republic Title. Please stick around. You've got to be present at the end to win, but 5 lucky attendees, and holy cow, look at this. 5 lucky attendees will each receive a $100 gift card to one of these spots: Sephora, Barnes & Nobles, REI, Perry Steakhouse, and Sullivan's Steakhouse, courtesy of Old Republic Title. We've got Kyle Shannon here. He's with Old Republic Title, and you'll hear from Kyle and Old Republic here in just a little bit. All right, so be on the lookout. This is something that we're really excited about. There's a group of us that have formed together to create more materials and resources to help all the practitioners across North Carolina use the enterprise justice system. So here's what we're going to do. We're going to give you the tools to succeed. We're going to create a tips, strategies, examples, search practices resource for using enterprise justice. We believe that landing spot or that repository will be the North Carolina Land Title Association. There's a website for NCLTA, which I probably should have included in here, but it's easy enough to find. It's not there yet, but we're going to create a link or a tab at the top that's going to have this repository. We're going to form a way for you all to send those of you who are in the weeds with this and who encounter issues from time to time with your use of enterprise justice in the portal system. You can send in your examples or your questions or what have you to this repository. It'll all be housed there. It'll be sort of vetted by a group of us who work with this on a regular basis. And then be on the lookout too for enterprise justice sort sessions by Return to the Vault. These are going to be targeted programs tailored to specific portal searching. So for example, we might have one program just on entities, or one program just on associations, or one program that's tailored more to what do you do when you have parties with special characters and numbers and weird spacing and that sort of thing. So be on the lookout for all of those types of programs moving forward. All right, I want to introduce a couple people to you. David Woods, first of all, with Moss Woods PLLC. He is the chair of the North Carolina Bar Association Task Force on Enterprise Justice, which was created last year by the NCBA. I'm going to let David speak in just a moment on a little bit more on that task force. But in addition to just being a great person, David Woods is a great leader, and he has been heavily involved with the North Carolina Bar Association for a long time. David is a past member of the North Carolina Bar Association Board of Governors and the North Carolina Bar Foundation Board of Governors. During the last 2 years of his term, David was on the executive committee of each board. Prior to his election to the NCBA Board of Governors, as I said, David was chair of our section. Terry Bolin, our speaker today. Terry is a paralegal with Manning, Fulton, and Skinner in Raleigh, where she assists attorneys in commercial real estate transactions. Terry graduated from the University of North Carolina at Chapel Hill in 1985 with a Bachelor of Arts degree in economics and earned her paralegal certificate specializing in real estate from the Meredith College Paralegal Program in 1989. Terry received the North Carolina State Bar Certified Paralegal Certification in 2005 and earned both the Certified Paralegal designation and Advanced Certified Paralegal credential in real estate from the National Association of Legal Assistants in 1999. She is a frequent CLE and CPE presenter on topics related to real properties title searches in North Carolina. And I can tell you that her list of volunteer activity and service to the NCBA is extensive. And we're thrilled to have Terry here with us. We're thrilled that she created an excellent manuscript, which you're all going to be able to receive. And you're going to hear from Terry about more about that in just a moment. But you know, the value that she is, the free value she's added to everybody here today and everybody across the state who accesses this manuscript later is just really invaluable. And we're just so thankful to have Terry here with us. I've known Terry for about 1.5 years and have been impressed with her involvement with enterprise justice, her many meetings with AOC. And so David, if you are with us, I saw your name pop in earlier. If you could unmute and say a few words, and then we'll let Terry take it away. Terry, for now, I'm going to stop my screen share so that you can get your section up.
Matt, thank you for the kind words. Last bar year, past President Patty Ramseur formed a task force to work with Director Ryan Boyce. Numerous sections are involved in the task force. We have presented reports to Director Ryan Boyce and his senior staff, and we are working to make enhancements, progress with the system. Terry Bolin is one of the real property sections liaisons to that task force, and in a moment you'll see why we picked her to do that. Thanks, Matt. Terry, thank you for this program. I look forward to hearing it.
How sweet.
All right. Well, thank you, David. And with that, Terry, we'll let you take it away.
Okay. Trying to get my video to work. Hold on just 1 second.
By the way, Terry, as you're getting your video up, and just as a reminder, please, folks, feel free to use the chat box for your questions. I doubt we'll get to all of the questions today, but Terry has been nice enough to agree to help us all to answer questions after the fact. So if we don't get all of your questions today, we'll try to get to those at some point and get you answers.
Okay, thanks. Matt and David, thank you so much for the warm welcome. I appreciate it. I've seen a lot of familiar names on the participant list, and it is like being back at the vault. Since I started working as a paralegal so long ago, the vault was a very special place to me, and some of the participants on the call today, including Virginia Burroughs and some other people, were people that I met in the Wake County Register of Deeds office, the Durham County Register of Deeds office, and those really were formative years and a great way to speak with other practitioners when you had questions on the spot in the vault, talking with other people. And so when the Return to the Vault series came about, it just, I think it's a great idea. It brought back a lot of great memories for me. As David said, I've been involved in some of the meetings with the Administrative Office of the Courts on enterprise justice. I certainly don't consider myself an expert. I consider myself a colleague like you, someone who is just trying to figure it out, trying to understand how to use it efficiently and correctly. And so the presentation today is really something that we've come up with, some best practices here at the firm, some ideas that we have about searches. One thing I did last week in preparation for today's presentation was to reach out to the real estate paralegals in our firm, and then also to two other people, Biz Harrison and Lynn Ashby, who have both been very instrumental in meetings with the AOC and working on enterprise justice. And I sent those 6 people some questions about searches. I gave a human name and a non-human name, and I asked each of these people independently to, if they had time, to return to me a list of the names as they would search them in Portal. And what I found interesting, but perhaps not so shocking, is including my list, there were seven different lists. So there's no consensus. I think we all have different ideas about how we want to search things. And of course, that's not new with Portal. That was the case with VCAP and even the Register of Deeds indices as well. But I did find it interesting, just the difference in the search ideas and the different ways the names were searched. So if you came here hoping to have a black and white consensus as to how you should conduct your searches, that's not going to happen. But my hope is that we can talk about the implementation and the rollout, where the AOC is with rolling out enterprise justice, which was formerly known as Odyssey, and then also its associated public website portal. So we're going to talk about the implementation, the rollout. We're going to talk about some resources that are available, and then we're going to spend most of our time, I think, talking about some suggested search practices in Portal. As Matt said, I prepared a manuscript for everyone today. My hope is that, with any kind of CLE, we hope that there are what we call nuggets that y'all get, and I get as a participant myself. And that nugget is, what did you learn that was new? Something that you think is valuable to you that you can use in your practice, something you didn't know before or maybe weren't comfortable with. And so one thing I would be appreciative of is, as we go along in the chat feature, if you can, if you have a nugget, if you spot something that's helpful or you didn't know, put it in the chat feature so I can look at those again and see what people may have found helpful. As Matt said, the manuscript will be available to everyone. I anticipate that the manuscript will be updated as we go along, and we'll try to make sure that the most current version is available to y'all as we move along. So today we're going to talk about, again, the rollout. And so for a minute, I want to talk about the kind of the history that I've experienced and that may be a similar experience to some of you all. As Matt mentioned, I started working as a paralegal back in 1988. And at that time, VCAP had not been rolled out. And so in Wake County, as we were searching those books, the big heavy books. And as you know, the one you needed was always on the bottom. And then after about 6 or 8 months of working as a paralegal, VCAP was rolled out in Wake County. I think that was February of 1989. And so we had a period where we would search both the books, the book forms, and then also VCAP, since information indexed into VCAP was not backdated. There was no backfile project to add things. So we would search both the books and VCAP until the time, at least 10 years passed, that we were no longer needing to search those books. And so VCAP, as y'all know, has been in existence for a very, very long time, rolled out in 88 in some counties and 89 in other counties. It has been probably the only constant I've known as a paralegal since that time. You could always rely on VCAP. It was always going to be the same. And once you figured out how to use it and knew that you couldn't put a space in after the comma when you searched the name, I think you were pretty good to go. The manuscript has a little bit of information on VCAP, and then an introduction to how the AOC rolled out Enterprise Justice. And again, that was known as Odyssey when it was rolled out first February of last year in the 4 pilot counties. For us in Wake County as a pilot county, it was a brand new day. There was, in my recollection, no beta testing, no getting used to the system. But once we went dark on February 8th and then went live on February 13th, that was the first time many of us were able to use the system. And it was certainly a trial by fire. It was learning a lot of information quickly and trying to make sure we didn't miss anything as we went along. In the manuscript, there is some basic information about different programs and how valuable it has been to roll all of these many disparate programs that the AOC had, most of which I knew nothing about. Lots of different custom-made software programs that had been cobbled together as the years wore on, and how the Enterprise Justice System pulls all of those applications together. Hopefully for the benefit of the different clerks' offices, for us as practitioners, and for the public as well. So the manuscript has a lot of that information on the different programs. One thing that we did experience when we first rolled out in the pilot counties was that we were able to search both Enterprise Portal, which is, again, the public website for Enterprise Justice. We were able to search Portal online as a web service, but we were also able to continue to use VCAP for those pilot counties. And that was helpful because we could conduct our searches in Portal, and then we could turn around and conduct searches in VCAP to see if we got the same search results. And that was allowed to continue for some time. That is not the case now, in that once a county has migrated over to Enterprise Justice, that data is no longer available to us searching in VCAP. So right now, VCAP has just those counties which have not yet migrated over. So in the rollout, there is I pulled a lot of information, obviously, directly from the source. I used to teach in the paralegal program, and I would always tell students to go to the source. Whatever that source might be, that's where you want to get your information from and copies from, or whatever it may be. I have found the AOC's website to be very, very helpful. I have found a lot of resources there. Several of which I have attached as different appendices to this manuscript, which I'm hopeful that you might find helpful, either using it in the manuscript or going to the website itself. In the manuscript, I pulled a couple of charts directly from the AOC website, including the eCourts tracks. And so as of last month, as of July 22nd, Enterprise Justice, again, also formerly called Odyssey, is now available in 38 counties in North Carolina. So to those of you in the Tract 5 counties, welcome to the party. I hope you are having a good time so far. October 14th is the next planned rollout. Those 11 counties will be Anson, Cabarrus, Cumberland, Hoke, Montgomery, Moore, Randolph, Richmond, Scotland, Stanley, and Union counties. There will be a Tract 7 rollout in February of next year. The counties are listed there. Tract 8 will be rolled out in April of next year, April 28th. Then we will have Tract 9 counties rolled out in July of 2025, and then the last tract rolled out in October of 2025. And then finally, the business court will join Enterprise Justice sometime in the fourth quarter, probably of 2025. So it has been a slow and staggered rollout, and I think the AOC has spent a good deal of time learning as they go along and making sure that the rollouts go pretty smoothly. There's I think a great map in the AOC website which has all the counties and lists them as well. One word of caution or suggestion to you folks who are in counties that have not yet migrated over to Enterprise Justice, the time is now to get up to speed. If you're here watching this program and you're not in one of those counties, thank you for being proactive. It's a great opportunity to go ahead and practice some searches in Portal to get used to the search logic, and then come up hopefully with your firm's best practices so that you're all on the same page. So all of the attorneys and the paralegals are working from the same playbook, conducting the same types of searches. That is something that would have been beneficial if we had in the pilot counties to kind of get used to. But this is a great opportunity for you if you've not yet rolled out. So go ahead and start practicing some searches. Go ahead and put together some best practices for your firm, and you'll be ahead of the curve once Enterprise Justice is rolled out in your particular county. So today we're going to talk about the indexing in both VCAP and Enterprise Justice. And there are, as part of the appendices in the manuscript, I have included the indexing standards for VCAP. And I have to tell you, I don't know how many years I had worked as a paralegal before I found out there were indexing standards for VCAP. And once I looked at them, they made a lot of sense, and I have found them helpful as a resource since then. So one thing to do as a searcher and also as a certifying attorney who is perhaps reviewing title work done by maybe another attorney in your office or a paralegal or other non-lawyer staff member in your office, I think it's imperative that both the certifying attorneys and the title searchers understand the indexing standards for both VCAP and for Enterprise Justice. And a couple of reasons. Let me say one thing. The indexing standards are slightly different. And so it's critical that you have looked at them, kind of understood them, created dialogue within your office to talk about those indexing standards. For VCAP, one thing that I always thought was kind of interesting is that there is a list of standard abbreviations that was used. And that is not the case with Enterprise Justice. But let's talk for just a couple of minutes about why it's important to understand the indexing standards that existed in VCAP. Two reasons. One, if you're searching a title in a county that has not yet migrated over to Enterprise Justice, obviously you'll be searching VCAP for your clerk's checks. So you still need to have, a mastery of how the indexing standards work in VCAP so that you can conduct your searches properly. That includes an awareness of the abbreviations or searches that are so broad with so few letters that you're not even going to encounter the standard abbreviations. So one, if you're still doing searches in non-migrated counties, you need to understand VCAP indexing standards. And then secondly, and as will become important to all of us by the end of next year, in Enterprise Justice, when the information, the data is migrated from the VCAP system into Enterprise Justice, The indexing of all of those, I'm sure, millions of matters, the indexing itself is not changed. The indexing of each matter, be it a civil action, a special proceedings, a claim of lien, none of the indexing information is changed or altered when it migrates over to enterprise justice. So however something was indexed back in 2018 in Wake County, that's going to be the indexing as it appears in enterprise justice as it has migrated over. So those are two reasons you really still need to understand the indexing standards for VCAP. The indexing standards for VCAP are Appendix A in the manuscript. Again, super helpful, a great way to create dialogue with people in your office. One thing I do kind of, I talk a lot about those standard abbreviations in part because they were a surprise, I think, when I found out about them. But in the manuscript, an example of why it's important is I chose the name Pulte Home Company for no other reason other than it's something, you know, we've all heard of. If you were searching Pulte Home Company in VCAP and you searched that complete name, Pulte Home Company, you are going to miss those matters that are indexed under Pulte Home CO, and CO is a standard abbreviation in VCAP. And so obviously, you know, missing something, creating a search that is so specific so as to omit other entries or matters, you know, that's one of my greatest fears as a title searcher and as a paralegal. So here is that wonderful list of abbreviations in VCAP. The one that always got me was partnership, PTNSHP. I would never think to search by that. And so obviously I don't search the name partnership. If I had the word Acme partnership, I would search Acme space P and then scroll through all of the searches returned to me. That way you're not missing anything. And honestly, that means if you don't know what the standard abbreviation is, then no harm, no foul. So let's talk about some suggested search practices for VCAP. And again, it's important to the extent that all of those matters migrating over to enterprise justice are still searched that way. Here I chose the name Richard B. Phillips with 2 L's. If I were searching that name in VCAP, I would start by searching just the last name. Again, I like a broad search. I usually start with a very broad search and then sometimes research it, reconduct the search with perhaps more information to drill down. But it's always been my practice to start broad and then narrow it down a little bit. I want to search Phillips with 2 L's. I want to search Phillips with 1 L. Anytime you have a name that has a variant spelling, you're going to want to search by that variant spelling as well. I did have a little note here, pay particular attention to the beginning section of the search screen result in VCAP. It may include a human name where a comma was not entered. And so it may appear as like a Phillips Motor Company, but it might be Phillips Richard without a comma. You'd only see that at the beginning of the search returns that are returned to you. And then I would search with the last name, first letter. So I would conduct a search that was Phillips with 2 L's, comma, R, and then Phillips with 1 L, comma, R. Remember that in VCAP, you should not put a space after a comma. If you do that, you're going to get a message at the bottom that says no like names found. And that is always a red flag to me that I may have conducted a search improperly. I go back and put fewer items in and then have more searches results returned to me to go through them. For a non-human name in VCAP, Pulte Home Company, comma, LLC, I would search the word Pulte, scroll through all of the names returned to me, and then perhaps Pulte H. I know obviously, if I've got a Smith, I'm going to start broad and then pretty quickly narrow things down. But to me, the key is to always start broad, paying particular attention to the items at the beginning or the end of your list, which may have some kind of either a misspelling or punctuation added or an extra space between the words. That's where you're going to find those anomalies that you might otherwise miss. In VCAP, you would then click on the county, add in the county information, the first 4 or 5 letters of that county name, and click enter, and you'll get lots of search results returned to you. One of the benefits, we have a dedicated service line to VCAP here in our office, and which has been a game changer when it first came out years ago, because we were able to then print all of the search results that we found. Which in the beginning, when I was down at the clerk of court's office, I couldn't do. I would just be making hand notations. So the ability to print these search results, which include the search criteria on them, and that is something important that we'll talk about about enterprise justice. At VCAP, up at the top of the screen, it will show you the name you searched, and then in the upper left, right-hand corner, it will show you the date and time of your search. That's important as a title searcher because you have evidence of what you saw as you conducted your search. And, obviously we always want to evidence everything we find in the search. We want to make sure that we could prove, if needed, what we saw, what was returned to us, either in the Register of Deeds office or the Clerk of Court's office, that might have an effect on title. And, of course, that would be helpful to have if there were to be a title insurance claim or a malpractice claim. So here you've got evidence that has the date and time and the search criteria to prove perhaps that that judgment was not indexed at the time you conducted your search. So that's helpful information. Okay, let's jump into Portal. As you would be disappointed if there weren't at least a couple of disclaimers in the manuscript. The first disclaimer is here at the very beginning of the Portal section. The manuscript has been created with the best available knowledge, almost all of it taken directly from the AOC website. And so what I used was the website itself, which has a basic search tip section. Then there is the eCourts Portal Advanced User Guide, which I find extremely helpful. And if you've not had a chance to review that yet, I would highly recommend that to you. The eCourts Name Indexing Standards, I refer to that frequently. And again, it's attached as an appendix here to this manuscript. There's also an eCourts Portal Overview Guide that I've attached. So this manuscript and the way I've kind of curated my suggestions for searching, or the strategies for searching, is based on the current versions of these items as they are found on the AOC website. They're not intended, this manuscript and the suggested search practices are not intended to establish a best practice or to guarantee success in finding everything. It's really just hopefully a guide to help you figure out how to create your own searches. But my hope is really that, again, that you use the manuscript and the resources to create dialogue within your firm and create best practices for your particular firm. I find it very helpful. We have a monthly paralegal meeting for the real estate paralegals here, and we talk about things like this, and it's exceedingly helpful to have this kind of data and the dialogue within the firm, again, to make sure that we're all doing it the same way. And if we've learned anything new, that we can share that information as well. So when you have time, be sure to check out those resources that are available from the AOC website that have been attached to the manuscript. Okay, let's talk about the wildcard function. There is a feature or a function in Enterprise Justice, in Portal, the search screen, the search function we're going to use, which includes a wildcard opportunity. Now, in VCAP, we didn't really have a wildcard function. You would just put in the first 3 or 4 letters of a particular name, and then it'd be like an automatic wildcard. All of these search results, anything that started with those particular letters, would be returned to you as search results. In Portal, we're searching in Portal, there is a wildcard function in Smart Search and the NC Judgment Search. On the screen, you should be able to see the landing page for eCourts Portal. And I assume that many, if not most of you, have been there before. This is not something new to you. But on the landing screen, we have Smart Search. which is the program prepared by Tyler Technologies that they, I think, use across the country. You can find everything in Smart Search. Now, North Carolina, as you know, has a statutory requirement that judgments and other items like that, judgments, liens, lis pendens, be indexed under a separate index. And so Tyler Technologies has created the NC Judgment Search. And so that's just like searching the judgment index in VCAP. So let's talk about the wildcard function in Smart Search. This information in the manuscript is taken directly from the AOC information, and it gives you some guides or guidance about how to use the wildcard search. I would suggest a couple of things to you. You can use the wildcard search you type in the last name and a first initial and use the asterisk as a wildcard. And of course, the items returned to you would be all entries under that last name that began with the first letter of the first name. To perform a wildcard search, type in a minimum of 3 characters followed by an asterisk for the last name and a minimum of 1 character followed by an asterisk for the first name. And we're going to talk about that just a little bit later. I have found that to be very, very helpful and would suggest that all of you incorporate that wildcard search by using it on both the last name and the first name as a part of your standard searches. Down here, and this is important, to search for a case by a business name, click the advanced filtering options, navigate to the general options section, and select business name from the filter by search type on the drop-down list. We'll talk about that again in just a minute. More information about the wildcard functionality, and we're still talking just about Smart Search right now. This is important. The wildcard will not work if the first 3 characters of the business name contain a special character, space, or number. Try entering at least 3 characters of the name without the wildcard and click Submit or enter the exact business name as supplied on the court document. Now, many of us have found a little bit of frustration with that process and with that information. As title searchers, we don't know the name as it's supplied on the court document, right? We haven't seen the document. That's what we're looking for. And so here I would suggest to you that you would search the exact business name as it appears on the Secretary of State website as a starting point. We're going to talk about that a little bit more in just a minute. Wildcard in judgment search. And I've highlighted this because I think it's super important. The correct use of the wildcard function in NC Judgment Search will return search results where the search term is in any part of the name. Now, this could be a game changer for you. And this was not available in VCAP. For example, if you have a name where perhaps it starts with special characters, or a letter or a space, but in the middle of that name is the word sophistication. Maybe it's a hair salon. If you search the word sophistication and then put a wildcard or an asterisk after it in NC Judgment Search, anything with the word sophistication in the name will be returned to you, whether it's at the beginning of the name, the middle of the name, or the end of the name. And that's something that I think is helpful to know and could be used routinely or could be used specifically when you had a name that just has perhaps an odd word in it. And it's a great way to kind of spot check to see if you found anything or missed anything. One of the differences in the wildcard functionality between Smart Search and Judgment Search is that in Judgment Search, you can use the wildcard by only typing in 3 characters. So you could type in CCC asterisk, and anything will be returned to you that has CCC at the beginning, middle, or end. In Smart Search, you have to have 4 characters. And we're going to talk about that in just a minute. But for Smart Search, if you wanted to search just CCC, you could still do that. You would need to add a space after the last C. So you would search CCC space asterisk in Smart Search, and that would return to you similar searches. So again, you can still use the wildcard functionality with a 3-letter name. Just be sure to add a space after the end of that. In the Porter Advanced User Guide, again, I think it's a really helpful resource. There is a chart that I think is really cool. It shows you different names that you could search, how you could search them, and then theoretically what search results would be returned to you. Here's right here the wildcard insurance. So if you typed in insurance asterisk, you would get any hit where the word insurance was in any part of the name. Again, beginning, middle, or end. I just think that's a pretty cool feature. Okay, let's talk about the portal landing page. Again, we're here. Smart Search is where we're going to do all of our searches for civil actions, special proceedings, estates, items like that. The judgment, and let me say one thing, the judgment items also come up, like claims of lien will also be shown in the Smart Search index. And then we have the NC judgment search index that we're going to use. In the manuscript, I've got some suggestions on searching human names and non-human names. For the first human name, I've got Richard B. Phillips would be searched Richard space R with 2 L's. I'm sorry, Phillips, comma, space R with 2 L's, Phillips with 1 L, comma, R. We could also search with Phillips R asterisk, and that's your wildcard. I've got 2 L's here. So I typically search with and without the wildcard. I have found that occasionally you will get different search results returned to you if you have the wildcard and you don't have the wildcard. And then last name with first name, Phillips Richard with 2 L's, Phillips Richard with 1 L. And again, adding a space after a space after the comma with the wildcard, again, without the wildcard and with the wildcard. And here's the feature that I talked about earlier. You can use the wildcard on both the last name and the first name. And so this is going to return to you any last name that starts with the letters PHI and has a first name that starts with an R. So this can be super helpful, again, not as a substitute for other searches in my mind, but as a supplement way to search. I will tell you that if you search this way, you will receive results returned to you that have both Phillips spelled with 2 L's and Phillips spelled with 1 L. And you will be surprised that I chose this particular name because this was the name in the Hennett v. Phillips case, where a title searcher did not find this particular action to renew a judgment because it was indexed in the name Phillips with 1 L, where Mr. Phillips actually spelled his name with 2 L's. So searching it this way, again, not as a substitute, would pull up every conceivable combination of those names. And I think that can be super helpful as a search. Now let's talk about non-human names. Now, you know, some of you know me, and it's not going to be a surprise that I can certainly go overboard with some of these searches. And I think that pretty much all of us here are kindred spirits, and we probably suffer from the same challenge. I end up sometimes searching lots of different forms of the name, probably many more than are efficient, but it is helpful for me. And I always start broad and then narrow it down. I will say that one of the suggestions on the AOC website suggests that it is better to start with a very narrow search, to go ahead and search your name exactly as it appears, and then perhaps to back out. That's certainly one way to do it. I've been doing this so long that I don't think I can change at this point. So I always start with just a little bit of information and then maybe drill down a little bit with a more specific search as I go along. So for Pulte Home Company, LLC, I would search Pulte. I would conduct each of these searches separately. Pulte with no wildcard, Pulte with a wildcard, and then Pulte H without a wildcard, Pulte H with a wildcard, Pulte Home without a wildcard and with a wildcard. And then I would also search the names exactly as they are without a wildcard, and with a wildcard, you'll see that I've searched with and without the comma. Now, admittedly, this could be a little bit OCD. This could be a little bit more. What I have found, though, is that you will find some variations and differences in the searches that you conduct. And I think it's better to search it lots of different ways, especially I think maybe when you're just starting. I think it's really beneficial to search in lots of different names. I want to see if I can conduct one search while we're here together, and see. I'm going to see. Hopefully, this will get it wide. I'm going to search for Pulte Homes, and you'll see I've done this before. I'm going to do Pulte with a wildcard, just as a first example. I'm going to click the I'm not a robot reCAPTCHA, and then I'm going to go to advanced filtering options, and we're going to talk about those in just a minute. I do those selectively, very carefully and judiciously. I don't want to over filter my search. Let's say I want to search in just Wake County. I'm going to deselect all counties, and then I'm going to go down and find Wake County, click it, and this may be your nugget for today. I'm searching a non-human name, and it is imperative that I filter by search type and choose business name. I'm not going to use, there are other types of search criteria that I could use to filter the search, but I'm not going to do any of those. To me, that runs a risk of eliminating search results that you would want to see. So I'm going to keep it Wake County. I'm going to keep it business name, and I'm going to start with just Pulte with the wildcard as an example, and then click submit, and then hopefully we'll get some search results. Recently, I've experienced some occasions where either the website is too busy or I've overtaxed it, and I'll get a Smart Search cannot conduct the search at this time. Try your search again later, as a message. Okay, so the first thing that comes up, you'll see, is this red banner across the top. The search returned 200 cases that have been grouped by party name. You can only see 200 cases, and so Portal is telling you to further narrow your search. We're going to talk about that in just a minute. But my purpose in showing this particular search is that you'll see that there are entries in Pulte Home Co. We talked about that earlier. If you just search Pulte Home Company, you're not going to have these items returned to you. And as that was a standard abbreviation in VCAP, there are going to be a lot of those. And so you would not want to miss out on seeing all of those. So again, be careful by limiting your searches and knowing your standard abbreviations. Again, when you have 200 cases returned to you, the smart thing to do then is conduct the search again and then group by date range. To me, that's the only, at least the way I see it, the only way to safely filter your search so that you're not missing anything. I wouldn't filter it by a particular case type or anything like that. So you can go back, click on the Smart Search again. You're still going to have Pulte asterisks. You're going to have to re-click on the reCAPTCHA. One thing you need to do is make sure that your selected county is still correct. I've had some experiences where I've gone back and a different county has been clicked altogether without my having done that. And so this down at the bottom is where you'd want to enter a beginning and an end date. In my mind, when you have someone like Pulte or a John Smith or whatever the common name may be, I would then filter it perhaps by calendar year. So I would go back for however many years I wanted to search in each calendar year to limit the searches. Okay, let's talk about the special characters. Again, one thing that has been challenging, I think, to all of us is in Portal, when you are searching a name that has a special character in the first three letters, either like an ampersand, a hyphen, a comma, an asterisk, something like that. The wildcard search, it does not work. It's not functional. And so the AOC's instructions are to search with the first three characters with no wildcard, and then to search the name exactly as it appears on the court document. As we mentioned, we haven't seen the court document, so we're not going to be able to do that. But here in our office, we had a particular case where the name was A-Mans, apostrophe S, Property Services, no comma, L period, C period. So lots of opportunities for error there. To search that, I would do it. I would search as the AOC suggests by doing just the first 3 characters. I can tell you that didn't return any search results. In fact, why don't we go over here and see if we can do this real time. A-M. I'm going to click on recapture. This is in Wake County, so that is still correct. I'm going to do a quick search to see if any other county is selected, and it's not. I'm still on business name, which is good. I'm going to click on submit, and let's see what it returns to me. No cases match your search. Okay, so we're going to go back. The next thing to do is to search the name exactly as it appears on the Secretary of State's office. And so hopefully you've been there. Look, I've already searched this again too. I'm going to search A-Mans Property Services, but I'm going to do it exactly as it appears on the Secretary of State's office because that's what I've been instructed to do. Click on the reCAPTCHA. Make sure I'm on Wake County. Make sure no other counties are searched. Make sure I'm still on business name search, and then click on submit. Again, I've not used the wildcard at all. No cases match my search. And so then what I want to do is conduct the search with some alternate forms of this name. Again, I'm not going to be using the wildcard. I'm going to take out the comma. I'm going to take out the periods after the LLC. I'm going to click on the reCAPTCHA. Oh, great. Now it's got traffic lights. Okay, I'm going to click to make sure I'm still on Wake County. Make sure I'm still on business type and see what might be returned to me here. Now we get some search results. So that's a good way to find it. I would also search with the comma just to see. I'm going to go back in and add the comma. Click back on the reCAPTCHA. Make sure Wake County is still selected. Make sure I'm still on business name, and then click on submit to see what else might be there. No cases. As suspected, I do ramble, and I'm running out of time, but there are a couple of things I do want to talk about here, and that is evidencing the file for you. And so one thing that you might have noticed, let's go back to where we had some search results returned to us. One thing that you will immediately see, I'm going to make, hopefully you can see all this, is that, oh, perfect. Smart Search is having trouble processing your search. Please try again later. I have found that that doesn't last very long. Of course, you know, now that we wanted it might. Okay, so it's not going to let us do that. One thing that when the search results are returned to you, there is no indication of the search criteria. There's no indication of the date and the time of your search. And that has been problematic for practitioners because there's no way to evidence with certainty what you searched to get those search results and what date and time those search results were effective through. And so one thing that I have suggested in the manuscript, and I think most of us are doing, is there we go. You'll see that on this screen with the search results, there is no particular place where either the name we searched or the date and time of our search is shown. And so what I've been doing as a general rule is on my prior screen where I had my search criteria, I print that screen and I print everything to PDF. So I print that as like Smart Search 1, and then I would print this particular screen. I would make sure my headers and footers are on So at least you have the time and the date there as some sort of evidence of when it was that you conducted that particular search. And again, I'm going to print that to PDF. The task force has asked the AOC about this particular issue. We've expressed a concern that it would be beneficial for us to have the search criteria and the date and time of the search as a part of the search results. Right now, the response has been that Smart Search is an off-the-shelf product by Tyler Technologies, and that right now that capability is not available. However, the AOC has said that they appreciate our concern and they're going to continue to pursue that. And hopefully at some point in the future, that will be as one of the updates that is done. So we will keep you posted on that. But again, the key to me is to evidence everything and make sure that everything you print, either to paper or PDF, has those particular search criteria and the date and time of the search. In the manuscript, you'll also see some examples for government agencies. I've thrown in a lot of different examples that you might want to use. Again, they may not be the only things you search, but it's a good way to think about how to craft your search so as not to miss anything. I've also got examples for trusts and estates that are in the manuscript as well. I do want to talk about searching in judgment search. We did mention that the asterisk does work with 3 characters, and so the judgment search would be a little bit different in that you could utilize 3 characters and the asterisks to conduct those searches. Again, you're checking everything. You're making sure that you're printing both the search criteria pages. Let me say one thing about the NC Judgment Search. The search results that you receive on NC Judgment Search do include the search criteria and the date and time of the search. So that's very beneficial. That means we're printing fewer pages. And that was an upgrade in one of last year's rollouts. We had expressed a desire to have that done. And since NC Judgment Search was a customized application done by Tyler Technologies, they were able to make that change. And so you might have noticed last year that you would see the date and time of the search as a part of the search results that are returned to you. Let me get to the practice tips real quick. Obviously, keep a record of everything you find. The search pages, the search results, make sure the date and time are in the footer for the Smart Search. Again, it's in bold here. Make sure you have the headers and footers on so the date and time of the search is evidence in some way. Also in bold, if you're searching a business name, you must use the advanced search link and search business name from the filter type. That's part of the filter by search type. I have seen some examples where I do get search results when I haven't searched business, but it is not always the case. I'm going to conduct one search real quick. It's 120 AirTech. If I do 120, and right now for this purpose, I'm going to go ahead and include the whole name. If I do not search by business, if I'm still in Smart Search and I want to be in Wake County, if I conduct that search, it's going to say no cases match my search. If, however, if I have filtered by business name, as I should do, I'm going to find a claim of lien. Now, you would have found that claim of lien in the NC Judgment Search, but I am curious if there's a civil action to perfect that claim of lien, whether or not that could be found in Smart Search without having clicked on the business type. So that might be your nugget for today. Be sure to click on business type when you're doing business searches. Lots of other information for practice tips. I want to say a few more things before I stop. Protecting yourself. The most important thing is what you're doing right now to educate yourself. to educate yourself on enterprise justice, justice and portal, to provide educational opportunities for your paralegals and other non-attorney staff in your office. Use the affidavit of understanding often and with every search where there is a migrated county. I assume most of you are familiar with this. There's a North Carolina Land Title Association form, the Affidavit of Understanding, which addresses inconsistencies in the migration from VCAP to enterprise justice. This should be signed by both sellers and buyers in a purchase transaction and should be signed by the owner in a refinance transaction. Also, you might want to include a disclaimer on your preliminary opinion on title. There's a couple of examples that I've seen where attorneys are mentioning some irregularities or inconsistencies and limiting their preliminary opinions on title to those matters. And then training, registration, and opportunities. The AOC does provide eCourts portal training. There is at the very end of your manuscript, there is a section with the next available dates for you to take advantage of this. And I believe it does have CLE credit for it as well, so you might be interested in doing that. My time is up. I did want to say a couple of thank yous to people. First to Patty Ramseur and Kim Stogner, the immediate past president and the current president of the Bar Association, especially to Patty for creating the task force, for seeing a need to have a dedicated task force with within the North Carolina Bar Association to communicate with the AOC. I think it's been a helpful and cooperative discussion with them so far. I also wanted to thank David Woods, Nancy Ferguson, and Matt Waters for all of the work they are doing. And as Matt said, David Woods' leadership of the task force has been exemplary, and because of that, I think we will have some real progress working with the AOC on future updates to enterprise justice and to portal. I also wanted to thank the AOC. We've had the pleasure of meeting with Ryan Boyce, Brad Fowler, and last year with Marjorie Morris. They've been extremely cooperative and helpful and forthcoming, and we appreciate what they have done. And of course, I wanted to thank Biz Harrison and Lynn Ashby, who have spent hours and hours on enterprise justice and working with it and being an advocate. So I appreciate that. And then I wanted to thank, lastly, all of the paralegals and attorneys who replied to our call for examples on inconsistencies or issues with searching portal. We put out a call last February as a part of our task force to get examples, concrete examples that we could give the AOC of problems we were having. I got so many emails, so many people reaching out. I wanted to give a special shout out to Patty McAllister with the Banks Law Firm. She sent multiple emails with some great examples, and we incorporated all of those examples into our report from the real property section liaisons to the AOC, and that again has been instrumental in some of the discussions that we've had. So thank you to all of those people who have been working and continue to work on this. I think it's been very helpful and will help us in the future as well. Matt, that's all I've got today.
All right, well, Terry, thank you so much. Just incredible presentation, such good, useful, practical tips and search strategies for how to use the portal, both the Smart Search and the Judgment Search. We were really glad to have you with us. And I got to say, I was also impressed that you were able to find the stoplights in the reCAPTCHA. I'm always asked to find bicycles, and for some reason I can't figure out whether there's a portion of a bicycle turn in a square or not. I'm gonna share my screen again. We had a few questions. I'm afraid we're not gonna be able to get to questions right now. I want to give some time to Old Republic Title and Kyle Shannon. But we did have some questions here, and we will try to get answers to those questions out to you as soon as we can. But thank you again, Terry. And with that, I want to welcome Old Republic Title and Kyle Shannon. Kyle is the Associate State Counsel and Branch Manager with Old Republic Title and Old Republic Insurance Group, a good friend of mine, and we're glad to have him here with us today.
Thanks, Matt, and thanks to Terry for her detailed and thorough presentation. I actually got a chance to look at her materials this morning, and I know that her document will be on my desk for reference moving forward. And I'm sure most other people on this call. It's very detailed and very thorough. Older Public, we are happy to sponsor Return to the Vault. I've enjoyed listening to all these programs and the content, and thanks to Matt for taking the time to get that situated for all of us. Thank you to Kyle Smalling as well for continuing to make the program a success. And it's also, it's definitely a great hour of education every month, certainly for me, and I'm sure for other people. If you have questions or concerns about the Enterprise Justice or Odyssey transition from a title insurance perspective, please feel free to give me a call, shoot me an email, or talk to any of your local Older Public branch across the state. We are happy to help in any way that we can. And so with that said, our 5 winners from the drawing will get an email from my office with further instructions on how to get those gift cards. And please forgive me if I mispronounced your name. I certainly do apologize. But our 5 winners are Jennifer Roeder, Brooks Miller, Kimberly Christian, Laura Lampkin, and Brandy Ferrentados. So those 5 people will get information from my office shortly on how to get their gift cards. And with that, thank you again, Matt and Terry, for all this information and all your hard work.
All right, thanks, Kyle. We again appreciate you being here and the generous support from Older Public Title. And congratulations to the winners. Any questions or comments that anybody has on this program, suggestions for future content? Again, be on the lookout for some more targeted sessions. Likely going to invite you back, Terry, to present on some very targeted, specific portal search, some smart search and judgment search specific programs, and also be on the lookout for the repository with North Carolina land title that will be able to be accessed by both members and non-members. And just a couple quick reminders again, be with us September 11th for the NAR presentation, Bob Ramser and Charlie Moody. And then you see the other upcoming programs that we have. And I saw at least one of you were here with us from Kiowa. So that's got us thinking about Kiowa already, and hope you're all with us in Kiowa, South Carolina next May. Great to see everybody. Thanks again for taking time out of your Wednesday to be with us, and hope everybody has a great rest of their afternoon.